so excited to introduce our beautiful teacher tonight, Rabba Kohl Finegold, who is here all the way from Canada, which I am so excited to have you here. You have been part of SVIVAH from the very start. And it's so amazing to have you here with us tonight. You'll see her full bio in the chat, but there is a link with her bio in the chat to an amazing article. Hold on. Rabba Feingold is the chief
Yes,
rabbi.
Mariella, I moved from Canada, but I still feel like
Wait, where are you?
I'm in Deerfield, Illinois now.
Oh
We
my
moved
goodness. Still cold,
it's
still
okay.
north. That's
North of
fine.
Chicago. I didn't want to interrupt, like you have such a beautiful flow of
You're
everything.
fine. You're not
Sometimes
in
I
Canada
forget where we
anymore.
live now, but we did move from Montreal about a year ago so that I could take this position at Moriah Congregation in the north suburbs of Chicago. But thank you for for reminding everyone that my heart is still. I saw Toronto. I'm giving a shout out to
Fine.
my heart is still up north, where
It's
I'm
it's obviously
connected to
a total ding on me because it's
my
obviously everything that is not central to my universe. It's like there, over there.
all good, all good. But it was in the bio that you just pasted.
Fine. Okay. She
So
is
people were seeing
has
it.
spent time in Canada.
It's a long time, about a decade. Yes.
Um, but what I really wanted to make sure that everybody took a minute to read and pay attention to, there is a link to a recent article that Rabba Feingold wrote that spoke so like deeply to my heart. I am so glad that you wrote this piece. It is confronting and first of all, one of the things that is not in your bio is that you are, or is it? It's not in your bio anymore. Yes, it is. You are one of the first Maharats, one of the first Orthodox ordained women. And so, as somebody who embodies that title and responsibility and who you are and having that follow you throughout your life, the idea that you took on this topic of what is female clergy was so awesome because that has been something that is part of your essence ever since you stepped into this role. And so I hope that I'm really I just want to talk to all of you about the article after you read it. I had a chance to really bother Rabba Feingold about it because I wanted to talk to her immediately after I read it. And I am so curious to hear what you all think about the role of female clergy. Rabba Feingold said things that I'm so glad she said out loud. I'm not going to give any spoilers,
Thank
but I
you, Eric.
am,
I'm glad I finally said some of them out loud too.
yes, and I'm really curious because a lot of them come from being part of the Orthodox sphere, but having had the privilege of working with clergy from all of the different denominations, there are so many real similarities. And I'm very curious to hear how the article resonates with people, what people look to or see when they see female clergy up in front of the congregation, what we want from female clergy, and if there's a difference, and how we interact and what our expectations are, and also what we perceive, like what the Jewish communal world puts on female clergy, if it's appropriate, if it's not, what boxes we put people in versus we as the, forgive me, Rabbi Feingold, as the users of female clergy. How do we look at our female clergy and what we see in them and from them and what we expect from them and what we gain from them? And I'm so glad that you wrote this article. So I hope everybody reads it and then I'll bother everybody and we'll all talk about it behind your back. Or we'll make you come back and we'll talk about it with you. Even better. Okay, I'm going to stop talking about your article so that we can light candles together because that's actually why we're here. Thank you all for being here tonight. And Rabba Feingold, thank you so much for coming all the way from not Canada to light candles with us tonight.
It's a pleasure, but I have to say I am in Central Time Zone now, so it's an hour earlier. I've got a little more Hanukkah than the rest of you do have left. But thank you so much for having me. And Ariella, thank you for creating this beautiful, warm, authentic space for women from so many different places to come together. So this is thrilling, and I'm enjoying all of the chat, knowing where people are coming in from. So please keep that going. We are going to light our Hanukkah candles, and I'm moving over here so that you can see me with mine. And then afterwards, I'm going to share just a few words of Torah about this final night of Hanukkah. So I feel like I'm going to introduce you to my space here because my family and I lit candles earlier. Well, I didn't. I left mine here not yet lit to do with all of you. But I have my three daughters and my husband's lit. So one of them is still burning, and my husband's one, which is really big and has the oil, is still burning. That one always lasts the longest. And I will say we actually have an extra Chanukiah in honor of one of the hostages that we're, of course, praying for and thinking of throughout this holiday. So I'm going to put you all down here. And I sort of was hoping this angle would work, but I think we're good. And I don't know if anyone else got these lovely candles from Target, but they're kind of pastel-y. So I'm going to light the shamash, and we're going to bring in the final night of Hanukkah together. Baruch. Oh, wait, I think Ariella was going to screen share the false start there. Ariella was going to screen share the brachot. So we'll do the two brachot and then Hanerot Halalu as well as Maoz Tzur. Okay, here we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Chanukah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa nisim lavoteinu bayamim hahem bazman hazeh. Neirot halalu anachnu madlikim הניסים והנפלאות ועל התשועות ועל המלחמות שעשית לאבותינו בימים ההם בזמן הזה על ידי כהניך הקדושים וכל שמונת ימי חנוכה. הנרות הללו קודש הם ואין לנו רשות להשתמש בהם, אלא לראותם בלבד, כדי להודות ולהלל לשמך הגדול, על ניסיך ועל נפלאותיך ועל ישועותיך. And then we'll sing Maoz Tzur. Maoz Tzur Yeshuati Lechana Leshabeach Tikon Beit Tefilati V'sham Toda Nezabeach Le'et Tachin Matbeach Mitzar Hamnabeach Az Egmor B'shir Mizmor Chanukah Mizbeach Az Egmor B'shir Mizmor Chanukah Mizbeach. I'm gonna sit down here on the side. We're just in my living room with all this awesome artwork that I have my spouse to thank for, because he loves these like cool art posters and things like that. But that's not what we're going to talk about. I wanted to share with you. It's so nice to have a full Chanukiah, isn't it? It's really beautiful. And gosh, it's what we all need. It's a lot more light. So I'm going to share with you a brief thought about what we call Zot Chanukah. Zot Chanukat HaMizbeach is the phrase that we use to refer to the final day of Chanukah for a very simple reason, which is that it's anchored in the Torah reading that we read on the morning of the last day of Chanukah. So that would be tomorrow morning. Each day of Chanukah in the synagogue, we read a small portion from actually the story of the dedication of the very first Chanukah of sorts. I'm not talking about the holiday even of Chanukah, but before we had a temple, when we had the Mishkan, the tabernacle in the wilderness, when that Mizbeach, that altar was dedicated, it was also a Chanukah. Chanukah is a dedication. So when we talk about Chanukah now, we talk about the rededication of the temple after it had been ransacked by the Greek Assyrians and after the Maccabees had reclaimed it and cleaned it up and rededicated it and the whole story of the menorah that we know. But Zot Chanukat HaMizbeach is really the only biblical time we see that phrase, Chanukat HaMizbeach, is in the dedication of the very, very first sanctuary in the desert. And each day of Hanukkah, we've been reading about one day. One of the Nesi'im, of the chieftains, of the heads of the tribes, would bring a different offering each day, on the second day, on the third day, on the fifth day. And finally, and actually it was more than 8 days long because there were 12 tribes. So it lasted a 12-day ceremony of initiation. So on the 8th day, we read kind of in the synagogue day 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then we say Zot Chanukah. We say Zot Chanukat HaMizbeach. This was the dedication of the altar, not just the altar, but the whole sanctuary, the altar being the primary focus of the worship. But of course, there was also a menorah there, as well as many other vessels. And so for a very simple reason, we call this Zot Chanukah, because that's what we read. But it's also like Zot Chanukah. This is Chanukah. This is the culmination of all of the days of Chanukah. And the word Chanukah actually is related to the word chinuch, which means educate. And there's a couple of sources that talk about a dedication, really like you would initiate something or dedicate or educate it in terms of how to work it. Like you could initiate or break in a tool. There's a Rashi that talks about breaking something in like that. Like you educate the thing of how to work. You're dedicating the sanctuary or the temple, meaning you're using it for the first time. You're teaching it how it works, and teaching, the the way that we educate ourselves is by doing it. Teaching is basically enacting. Um, and I'm looking at my friends who were supposed to visit, who I told them not to come until after 8:45 Eastern, they're now standing at the window making funny faces because it's now 8:46 or 7:46 for me, but that's okay. I'm gonna ignore them. Um, these are old college friends, so they can do that. And I'm gonna ignore them, just as I should. It is cold outside. Ariella just texted. I'm in Chicago. This is really funny, but we're supposed to be informal, right, Ariella? You told me. So this is what I wanted to say. This is what I wanted to say about Zot Chanukah. We're lighting 8 candles, but actually we lit 1. Then we lit 1 and 2. Then we lit 1, 2, and 3. Then we lit 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then we lit 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You see, each time we repeated ourselves. It actually reminded me, I was talking to one of my daughters about this earlier. I'm kind of an a cappella geek, and actually my friends who are coming over were in the a cappella group with me. And one of the warm-ups we used to do is this 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. You warm yourself up. You're educating your voice. You're like warming up. And you repeat the 1, and then you repeat the 1, 2, and then you repeat the 1, 2, 3. And that's exactly what we've done in our Chanukiah. We didn't just light 8 nights. We lit 1, then we lit 1, 2, then we lit 1, 2, 3. Then we lit each time, making it really a cumulative experience, a cumulative growth of, getting to Zot Chanukah, this is Chanukah. And especially on the first day of 2025, and I know it's a secular year, but it's the same kind of spirit of starting fresh that we feel at Rosh Hashanah. And it always feels like every January 1st, like we're starting from scratch. Like, okay, now the diet, now the exercise, now that relationship repair, whatever it might be. But I just think that's not fair to ourselves because we don't live 1 year at a time or even 1 day at a time. We live cumulatively. Is that a word? Cumulatively. Just as every day along this week or so of Chanukah, we've added and then added again and then gone back and added again. You know, our 2025 is also a cumulative experience of all of the years that came before. And we're not starting from scratch. We're not starting from scratch. We've accumulated a lot of wisdom and a lot of experience and a lot that can feed into where we are today. So I'm going to close with one more piece that actually relates to the last day of Hanukkah in a different way. Hanukkah, you know, is 8 days long because it's modeled after the biblical holidays that are 8 days long, specifically after Sukkot. In the days of the Maccabees, they couldn't bring the sacrifices of Sukkot. They couldn't essentially keep Sukkot because they were fighting in caves. And they rededicated the temple and were able to do those 8 days that they hadn't done. There's a deep connection between Hanukkah and Sukkot. And what's the 8th day of Sukkot is it's actually Shmini Atzeret. It's something new. It's something extra. We understand it to be its own holiday, its own festival. There's the word Atzeret means to stop, to pause. We pause at the end of the 7-day festival of Sukkot to have an 8th day, something that lets us kind of reflect and pause before we jump in, you know, to the rest of our year. But there's an interesting interpretation of the word la'atzor, which is not only to stop, but if you change the I into an aleph, there's a connection here. La'atzor is also to gather. Otsar is it's like a storehouse. We're storing up, we're gathering in, we're harvesting in everything we've received from the last 7 days. Actually, at Sukkot, it's probably from the last many holidays that led up to that. So my wish for us on this 8th day is that we should have that feeling of la'atzor, of ingathering, of harvesting the fruits of our labor, the fruits of the last week, whatever it was that we were able to gather in. And it may not have been a perfect week, certainly wasn't for me, but gathering those in, and even the fruits of the last year, as challenging as it may have been, to gather those together for our 8th day and to feel like it is a cumulative experience. You could open the door for them. Okay. That's ridiculous. I have to tell you, Ariella, I wouldn't be so comfortable in any other setting to be human like this. And so that's Zot Hanukkah. This is Hanukkah. This is the cumulative experience of whatever we carry with us. That is our wisdom. That is something we own that nobody can ever take away from us. And my hope is that it will fortify us, strengthen us as we move into the new calendar year. That's my blessing for me and for you and for all of us and for all of our loved ones. So may this light of the 8th night of Hanukkah, here we are, carry us forward, give us strength, and bring peace to all of us and to all of our loved ones around the world. I wish you a Chanukah Sameach for the last time this year. And I guess I'll hand it back to you, Ariella.
Amen. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Rabba Finegold. You are amazing. I love, love, love. I feel like so many of us, there's just been so much the end of 2024, the beginning of 2025, starting Hanukkah, ending Hanukkah, this juxtaposition right now of like starting. I love the way that you're doing that. You're letting us start a new year with a full Chanukiah where we've accumulated so much and we're not starting a year at empty. I love that. There's so much that we talked about, so much of these tools for playing with light and dark and holding light and holding two together and not feeling bereft of light when Hanukkah leaves us and not feeling like we're going back into the dark. Thank you for starting 2025 with a full Chanukiah full of light and knowing that we have accumulated so much that we can take with us into this after Chanukah, after this Zot Chanukah. Thank you so much. Go sing with your guests. Thank you for being here. Thank them for waiting outside
Of
for
course,
us.
no, no, my husband actually let them in. Everyone's fine. But thank you. It's been wonderful to be with all of you this evening, and I wish you good health and much light from wherever you can find it. Grab it.
Okay, we have a couple of announcements just before everybody goes, but Rabba Feingold, if you need to split, we love you and thank you. And Chag Sameach. I'm going to just remind everybody that we really, really are so glad that you're here. And please save the date again for January 20th to come to our Her Torah that we're having on Monday. It's MLK Day. It's in the middle of the day because we're having an international group of teachers who are coming to teach for us. The whole idea is love across borders, connecting to our Jewish sisters around the world. We have teachers from Amsterdam and Ukraine and Iran and Israel and more. And so we're meeting in the middle of the day. We'll hope you'll bring your lunch with us or wherever you are in the world right now, that you'll come and hang out with them and with us. They are spectacular, spectacular humans. And we really just wanted to hear their voices and connect with them and hear and understand better what their lives are like, more than beyond what we read in the newspaper or see on the news about them, and to really walk a moment in their shoes. Yes, it'll be recorded, but obviously we always want people to join us, and we're hoping that we're going to have people from their countries join us as well, which will be fun for SVIVAH to have such an international group and mix in the room. And the idea is to be able to share what we've been feeling for these last too many months, and to understand what it feels like, and so that we can bring our sisters a little bit closer to our hearts and start remembering what it feels like to talk to each other, that long distance phone call that we haven't made for too long, to really get to know these women around the world who are very, very wonderful and special.